Welcome back to Operation Freedom, folks. I'm Dr. Dave Janda, broadcasting from our ancillary bunker, linked to our main freedom bunker in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, here for you every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. And the other 6 days and 21 hours, we're not mute. Oh, no. No, we're always there for you at davejanda.com. I do another 4 to 5 video format shows every week, housed at davejanda.com. Plus, we have the archives to all of our shows. Stop on by. Educate and empower yourself. You're surely not going to get it through the bought-off lamestream fake media, but you will get it right out front at davejanda.com, much to the chagrin, might I add, of the syndicate. They do everything in their power to suppress our content. But we soldier on. And in so being, I believe we help. Well, we have listeners in all 50 states and in over 100 countries worldwide every week. So we have continued to make an impact in getting our information out that the syndicate wants suppressed. My next guest is someone who has done everything possible over his entire career of helping and empowering people on the financial front. He was demonized and has been demonized for decades for predicting exactly what we're experiencing today. A stagflationary environment, a system that is in the, if you will, in the process of imploding. And that's not a coincidence, and it's not an accident, and it's not from incompetence. It's all been part of the plan. And Bill Holter has put you far in front of that curve. Too few people have, they've listened to Bill, but I believe too few people have actually acted upon his wisdom, which is why so many people are panicked right now about what they see happening around them on the financial front. But if you listen to Bill, you're ahead of the curve. And if you acted upon what Bill has told you, you realize that, well, yeah, we are in a tunnel, an economic tunnel, a financial tunnel, but there is light at the end of that tunnel. For those of you not familiar with Bill, he had a very lengthy career in financial services, and he retired in 2006. He actually moved his family out of the United States right before the crash. He then returned in 2011, currently makes his home in the great state of Texas. He joined Miles Franklin, milesfranklin.com, as an associate writer in 2012. And Bill is a precious metals broker with Miles Franklin. He has a phenomenal website, Bill Holter, Holter, billholter.com. And in a nutshell, Bill is one of the best forensic economic analysts in the world. And in so doing, rather than keep all that information for himself or his immediate friends, he shares it with the public at large, which makes him a target of the syndicate because they want people uninformed, because it makes them easier targets. It's my privilege and honor to welcome back to the Operation Freedom show and platform, Bill Holter. Bill, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. Good to be back.
So, Bill, one of the ways in which the cult has gained power over all these decades is through fraud. Recently, Elon Musk said the U.S. government, quote, deleted a terabyte of financial data to cover up their crimes. Lucky for us, though, they don't understand technology, so we were able to recover it. And one of the things he uncovered was the fact that the United States government has what he called, quote, magic money computers that create money out of thin air. So this 37 trillion that we're supposedly in debt, or several hundred trillion if you look at the unfunded liabilities and mandates, it's undoubtedly far worse than that because all of these magic money computers are off book. And Bill, you've told us this for decades that our system was coming down. It was through fraud, and it was through the willful destruction of our monetary system. Yet, Bill, you continue to be targeted. What keeps you going?
Well, that's a tough question. I guess it's just what's inside me. I mean, I hate falsehoods, and I just think it's not fair that the public has been put to sleep while things like you're just talking about, the magic money machines, et cetera, while that's going on, I mean, the public is being led to a slaughter, and I don't want to see it.
So, Bill, one of the prescriptions that you have written for the world public was to be very leery of paper assets, in particular paper assets that were not backed by anything meaningful, and to, if you will, put their resources into precious metals. And you have been demonized for that prescription. Yet, Bill, we see paper assets essentially melting, and physical assets such as physical gold and physical silver, not to the same degree as physical gold, but appreciating in value significantly. Take us through this, Bill, of where we are today, where you think we're going, and where you see the store of value being in precious metals.
Yeah, gold has been the best asset class since the year 2000. I mean, you can match it up against the S&P. You can match it up pretty much against anything. It has been the best asset class. And moving cash balances out of banks or out of the system into gold and silver, I mean, that's simple. Gold and silver can't bankrupt, and the system is in the process of and is mathematically certain to fail. It's really a huge topic, and I think the grand topic is the great taking. Mm-hmm. This system is going to come down, and institutions obviously are going to go down with it. The problem is, for the last 11 years, since 2014, Western nations have been putting laws on the books. For instance, if you deposit money at a bank, it's not your money. You've lent money to the bank. It's their money. If you buy stocks or bonds and hold them at a broker, those are not your stocks. They're not your bonds. They're on your broker's balance sheet. So if they go down, they're going to use your assets to try to save themselves. So, I mean, we're really coming to the point in time where the rubber is going to hit the road, and people need to understand that as a depositor at a bank or a shareholder, you hold shares or bonds at a broker, you are absolutely last in line. You are the least secured creditor, which means they're going to take your money first to save the institution. That's the danger today.
And Bill, where do we stand in the precious metals market as you peer behind the curtain of what's going on? Because for months, we've seen a huge influx of physical gold and physical silver coming into the United States. We've seen huge physical inflows into the Shanghai exchange, right? We see huge accumulations of sovereign entities for precious metals. So give us the lay of the land of where we are right now, because some people are saying, well, gold got, it went over 3,500, but, well, now it's backing down, and, well, the stock market's coming back up. So, well, that's over now. So now we can go back to, the old paper asset going through the roof stage again, and precious metals just marking time. Give us your take, Bill, because I don't buy into that.
Yeah, with gold, central banks, sovereign wealth funds, they've been buying physical gold for the last 2 or 3 years, and they don't care about price. They just want they're buying ounces or buying tons. They don't care about price, and that's why if you look at a chart on gold over the last 3 or 4 months, or even longer, it looks like a tractor in first gear. There's no huge spikes, no huge drops. And that was up until a couple, 3 weeks ago. And now the volatility, and I said 2 or 3 weeks ago that you're going to start to see $100, $200 days in gold, and that will ultimately expand. And you're going to start seeing $2, $3, $5 days in silver, and that will expand. I mean, at this point in time, physical gold for institutions for large trades, $50 million trade, $100 million trade, gold is hard to source. Silver is hard to source. Now, on the retail level, the public has backed off. The premiums have collapsed, and gold and silver are both plentiful for the little guy, for us. I found it interesting. I don't even know how I came across this, but do you realize that the national debt in 1980 was $800 billion? It's now $37 trillion, and we've added $5 trillion just in the last 3 years. It took this country, 199 years, I believe, to get to the first trillion. So, I mean, it's a system that is coming apart at the seams. And one other interesting thing is the open interest on COMEX for both gold and silver have completely collapsed over the last, call it 2 to 3 months. Open interest is drying up. And what that tells you is COMEX is going to become irrelevant.
So so educate our listeners, Bill. Why is that important, really important, that COMEX is going to become irrelevant? Because if COMEX becomes irrelevant, some other entity is going to become increasingly relevant, correct?
Correct. Yeah, see, COMEX is basically paper contracts and was never originally set up to be a delivery hub. And it has turned over the last year or more, it has become a delivery hub. And, they've had problems. I mean, you saw, 3, 4, 500 tons move into COMEX of gold, basically knowing that there's going to be huge deliveries. COMEX has been used to suppress the price. COMEX is used to price many different commodities. And if COMEX becomes irrelevant, then, like you said, somebody else is going to have to price gold, and that's going to be the Chinese, because they are the ones who own the vast majority of gold. If you compare central banks, I mean, the U.S. supposedly has 8,400 or 8,300 tons, has not been audited since 1956. And I can show you easily on the back of a napkin that China's got over 25,000 metric tons, which is pretty darn close to what all the foreign central banks combined own. So China, you've heard the saying, he who has the gold makes the rules. Mm-hmm. China is going to be making the rules, and China is going to be the one that's pricing gold.
And the critical importance of that, Bill, is what? That China's pricing gold.
Well, the critical importance is you have to understand that for all these years of gold and silver suppression, the reason behind that is to be able to point at the price of gold and say, see, gold bad, dollar good. Mm-hmm. And that allows, or has allowed, the Treasury to basically borrow unlimited amounts of capital.
Mm-hmm.
But now all of a sudden, gold is sounding the alarm. I mean, gold has gone from 2,000 to 3,500 in a year's time. And gold has gone from $250 an ounce in the year 2000, or $252 an ounce, and here it is 3,500. If you even compare the 3,500 with $35, which was the official number up until 1971 when we defaulted, that is it's a 100-fold increase. And I guess the best way to say it is that a dollar is only worth 1 penny of what it was in 1971 if you look at it in gold terms. So, I mean, this thing, we are in the absolute end days of this empire.
And Bill, earlier in this interview, you mentioned that the United States reportedly has 8,400 tons of gold, but it hasn't been audited since 1956. Well, a couple months ago, actually probably close to 3 months ago now, it was right after Trump assumed power for the 2.0 administration, he was talking about auditing Fort Knox, and Elon Musk was talking about having a video camera event at Fort Knox. Now, Bill, maybe I'm just missing this, but that whole discussion has completely gone mute, silent. I haven't heard anything about a Fort Knox event or audit or anything even close to that for over a month and a half now. Am I just missing it?
No, you're right. And I mean, when I heard that, when I first heard it, they're talking about auditing Fort Knox, I just had to laugh because, I mean, you know, be careful what you find. When you find out that not only is some gold missing, but a lot of the gold has probably been leased out and not even owned by the Treasury anymore, I mean, that's a problem. That's a huge problem for the dollar. Yeah, the value of the dollar, the purchasing power of the dollar versus foreign currencies, and of course, versus the goods that it's meant to buy.
And Bill, could it be the reason why we haven't heard anything about it is because there are some people that did sniff around in Fort Knox and the other vaults in Denver and West Point and under the streets of Manhattan, and they actually found exactly what you just said, and that's why they said, you know what, we better shut up about this and we better not talk about it because we got a problem. Could that be the reason why?
I think that's absolutely right. And in my opinion, I think it's more likely you're going to get the Epstein client list before they would even consider doing Fort Knox. I mean, the Epstein client list would out all kinds of celebrities, politicians, et cetera, et cetera. But an audit of Fort Knox that gets failed, that would be the end. It would be the end of the dollar. It would be the end of the U.S. financial system because we would be proven to be a fraud.
And Bill, is it an overstatement to say that the world has caught on to this, which is why so many countries have flocked to the BRICS group because they're talking about a physical backing, whether it's gold, silver, oil, natural gas, agricultural resources, to any type of trading type of currency that they're going to use versus what we have here in the United States?
Bingo. Yeah, that's exactly correct. And it's also the reason that you're seeing all these foreign central banks unloading gold. I mean, they've been buying gold methodically. And like I said, they do not care about price. They only care about weight. Because they understand that when all is said and done, you are not going to count your wealth in dollars, euros, yen, pounds. You're not going to count your wealth in fiat currencies. You're going to count your wealth in weight, in how many ounces you have.
Bill, you mentioned earlier as well, folks, we're speaking with Bill Holter, financial analyst extraordinaire, Bill Holter, Holter, BillHolter.com. Bill, you mentioned earlier that the Chinese have 20,000, 30,000 tons of gold, and we don't really know what we got here, if any, in our system. many people say, well, you know what? You live here in the United States, and, China coming out and making an announcement that they got 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 tons of gold. It really isn't going to affect me. It's not going to affect my way of life. Now, I don't believe that, Bill, but educate our listeners. It's not if, it's when China comes out and announces they got 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, whatever they got, tons of gold. Educate our listeners in what happens when that occurs.
Yeah, you have two things going on right now. You've got the tariffs, and I don't know if you've caught this yet or not, Dave, but just look at the bookings for the Port of L.A. I mean, it looks like within 2 weeks there's a 40% drop. And I've said this all along, we don't make stuff. So these tariffs are going to become a disaster because there are going to be all kinds of goods that will become unattainable. So you got that on one hand, and of course become pricier, so that's an inflation factor. And on the other hand, China could come out and say, yeah, well, we have 35,000 tons of gold. And by the way, how much gold do you actually have, United States? We haven't seen an audit for 70 years. So how much gold do you actually have? And that will crash the dollar. So now you've got the problem of goods becoming scarce and the dollar itself shriveling up and the buying power going away. So what used to cost $2 might cost $10 if you can find it.
And during that scenario, Bill, the entities that hold their purchasing power and actually enhanced purchasing power are physical gold and physical silver, so that the people that took possession of physical gold and physical silver before this announcement would occur through China, well, their lives have been affected, but not nearly to a significant degree as those that decided, those are pet rocks, physical gold and silver. Am I off?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, the people who do not have anything out of the system, when the system collapses, those people will become literally paupers. It doesn't matter whether you got 10 or 50,000 in a bank or a broker, or whether you've got $1 billion or more. I mean, whether you're a billionaire, a millionaire, or none of the above, if you don't have wealth out of the system in something that cannot bankrupt, which is basically the definition of gold and silver, they are money that cannot bankrupt. If you don't have that, your standard of living is going to be washed away, and probably, I'm going to say 2 or 3 generations of your family are going to struggle because the wealth that's been built up to this point is going to be gone, and your family's going to have to start all over again.